Welcome back to Bitcoin Season 2, the weekly update, metrics heavy edition. Mayday, Bitcoin is going down. Ordinals are dead. Runes are dead. We've been here before, but maybe they're actually dead this time. So, without further ado, we're just going to get into it. This is a visual heavy stream. So, if you're listening to this, I'll try to describe what I'm seeing, all the red on the screen. And if you are just listening, maybe hop over to the YouTube or the X live stream. So without further ado, CoinGecko, it's my favorite degen dashboard, but basically Bitcoin is now in the $60,000 range. We are teetering on the edge of going back into the 50K. Some said this wasn't possible. Get ready, because this is when all of your friends and family start texting you asking if you're okay because you were super into crypto and you're afraid to tell them that actually you didn't own any Bitcoin, you only owned runes, which have fared even worse. Yeah, Bitcoin maybe by the end of this stream could be into the 50s. Not looking good. As always, DCA, and you can just turn your brain off and don't look back. Let's go into the Bitcoin update. Bitcoin stuff. Fees are also pretty low. Still largely in the double digits, but barely hanging on. This is 9, 10, 11 hash for VByte as estimated by mempool.space. We still, if we look at the kind of the amount of transactions sitting in the mempool, waiting, we are grinding through. We still have a decent amount of, I would say, number of blocks waiting to be included, or transactions waiting to be included into blocks, but we are just seeing activity on Bitcoin decline overall. Let's get into ordinals. We're gonna go through this pretty quickly. This is Data Always' dashboard. Cumulative inscriptions also pretty down. I say this every week, but we saw cumulative the rate at which inscriptions are being inscribed drop off a cliff on April 20th, which was the halving. Still pretty low, only 15 to 30,000 inscriptions per day. We saw a little bit of bump for BRC20 at the end of May with the Unisat Pizza 5-digit ticker launch, but now we're back down. We are only hitting maybe under 30,000 inscriptions per day. Regardless, 67, 68 million inscriptions, that's fine. Not a lot of BRC20 activity. There's no Sophons running anymore. If you don't know what Sophon is, go back and search that term on Twitter, SOPHON. And the daily inscription fee spend also really, really low. We're looking at under 200,000, under a $250,000 per day. Let's look at the marketplaces. This is Domo's dashboard. Let's see, trend, volume by marketplace is down, transactions by marketplace are down, percentage. I think the only really interesting thing happening right now in the marketplace space is going to be again what I've identified before, which is that Magic Eden seems to be eating the other marketplaces in market share. Right now, Magic Eden, just today, 69 for the memes, 69% of all volume is taking place on Magic Eden, as Magic Eden kind of subsumes both the JPEG market and the runes market. So again, I think this is significant because Magic Eden is taking over basically a fungible token trading market, and that's not ever been their focus before. Fungible tokens do significantly more volume than non-fungible tokens, NFTs, and I think this is one of the more exciting kind of macro trends we're seeing, which is a phenomenon spurred on by the ordinals and runes focus from Magic Eden. Unique users, I think this data might be out of date, or this dashboard might be wrong, but it does seem to be ticking up a little bit. We'll see. Is this just people spreading out wallets for future airdrops? Who knows? I also like to go to Alchemia's dashboard. I'll just pull up this chart, transaction type by fee percentile of a Bitcoin block, where this is a breakdown of like how of all of the fees in each block, what transactions do we attribute them to? So right now, runes are about half of the fees in each Bitcoin block. Traditional transactions are about half of the fees, and a negligible amount would be related to ordinals and or BRC20. So right now, the average Bitcoin block has about 50-50 normal financial transaction fees and runes fees. And because runes are down, this just means everything across Bitcoin is down. I didn't even get into like broader crypto. Like Solana is going through a bit of a crisis right now. It's being mimetically attacked with the milady shit posters and fudsters, and you got to enjoy watching it. ETH is down, even though it's got an ETF. Everybody's down. And then the other dashboard I'll pull up, and I do like to cover this because I don't think any other like Bitcoin focused shows cover this. Are the landscape of Bitcoin L2s. I want to find a more comprehensive dashboard for this, but this is the thesis dashboard, which just shows the three of the most notable Bitcoin quote L2s and the state of their assets in TVL. So Bob is the first one. The majority of assets on Bob are going to be wrapped Bitcoin, not majority. Half of them are going to be WBTC, and the supermajority are going to be Bitcoin pegged assets like TBTC or more WBTC or the sovereign equivalent. 300 million TVL on Bob. Not a lot of new daily inflows to Bob since late April. Let's go to Mezzo from Thesis, the creators of this dashboard. 131 million on Mezzo, 1,200, 1,300 BTC. Again, it's a wrapped BTC product. Actually 2,000 BTC. That's adding both wrapped BTC and Thesis's bridged BTC. Again, not a lot of additional cumulative deposits into Mezzo over the past month. And then the last one is Merlin, $1.4 billion in TVL. Most of that is, again, a wrapped Bitcoin equivalent staked on their chain. Outflows from Merlin have mostly plateaued, so they're staying around a bit of a flat 22,000 Bitcoin equivalent. Let's go to Runes. Runes market cap also down. Guys, it's not looking very good. Things are down bad. So Runes total market cap around 1.28, $1.3 billion. Again, for a new novel shitcoin fungible token protocol, 1.3 billion 2 months after launch. It's been 64 days. Remember, 64 days. $1.3 billion total market cap is still pretty respectable, but it's headed the wrong way, unfortunately. I wonder if there is a way we could make them go up. That narrative coming soon. As far as more data on Runes, Casey's HP is again a hilarious 69%. If you don't know what that is, Casey had a tweet which is like, if Runes is not over $1 billion by X date, then I will commit seppuku. Well, he's safe. His HP is currently about 69, according to this dashboard, 69% over his minimum. I think the total market cap might be slightly incorrectly calculated here. I like to point out the daily exchange volume. This gives us more of a precise look on just the Runes volume for Magic Eden, OKX, and Unisat. But Unisat is now at under 10% of all marketplace volume across the Ordinals and Runes ecosystem. This marketplace used to dominate the ecosystem and hasn't really gotten much sustained traction since the 5-ticker BRC20 standard evolution. Right now, it's Magic Eden with 54% of all volume, sometimes like 60 to 70%. The only real direct competitor is OKX, which also does have Runes, but they don't have all Runes listed. They've only got some of the majors like RSIC. Let me pull up Magic Eden as well really quick, just to look at the state of the Runes tickers. Right now, Runes tickers are down. BAMP of Nakamoto Dollar, the stable big Runes-backed stablecoin, is down 30%. Dog Go to Moon is actually holding pretty steadily. You got to hand it to the dog community. They are defending this floor pretty strongly. And I would say it's probably the most liquid of all of the runes. They're managing for it not to be as liquid to the downside. Arsic and Pups are down. Billion Dollar Cat has retraced a bit again. It carried the market a lot last week. And then where is the next one? There's another cat out here. I think it's the Silly Cat one. I don't see it on this chart, but whatever it is, the Silly Cat rune. You know what I'm talking about. Right now, the meme narrative has I would say moved on from Billy Cat to the Silly Cat. That's all I really have to say about that. I think another thing to pay attention to, and I haven't pulled this up before. Oh yeah, Stupid Silly Cat. That's the name of the rune. It's up 67% of the last 24 hours. I think the other thing that I want to point out is I haven't run the numbers, but we have this product on in the Runes and Ordinals ecosystem called Liquidium, which is basically allows you to borrow against your digital assets, either runes or Ordinals inscriptions. And I have just my subjective observations have been that people have been getting liquidated left and right. They loan their NodeMonk or their OMB and they can't repay it plus interest when the time is up, and it goes to the person that loaned them the Bitcoin against that. So I think this is happening a lot. I have a dashboard here from Genie Data, but it doesn't really show, I think, like cumulative liquidations, and that's something I would like to see. I would like to see if we're seeing the rate at which people are getting liquidated increase as the prices of these assets go down. I was having a good conversation about this with some other person this past week about theoretically you might want to be on the loaning side, because if you loan the BTC against these assets and then the person who borrows against it defaults it, you get the asset. But if the asset is also going down, then technically it may not actually work out as well as you'd hoped. So right now it seems a lot of these BTC DeFi products only really work super well for all the participants when everything's going up. It's like we didn't really learn a whole lot from last cycle where BTC DeFi, decentralized finance as a whole, really works when the market's going up, but when it's going down, things start to break. But Liquidium has some really good engineers, and I like the folks over there. I just wanted to bring that topic up. So, speaking of bringing topics up, yes, we're going to get into it. I think the topic, it is a moving target. I think it's evolved even as I've been talking here. The topic of programmable runes. So, if you were under a rock this past few days, and probably you should have just stayed under a rock the past few days, we had a bit of a micro narrative in the runes. Maybe we're starved for narratives, but this catchphrase, programmable runes, was introduced. I think originally from Isabel Fox and Duke, kind of a notable comms person in the ecosystem, who was tweeting a bit about programmable runes being veiled a bit. If you tweet something and it gets a lot of interaction, maybe you tweet another thing on it. I myself participated, given that I did not have any inside information to this, a little bit of shit posting on Runes 2.0 and 3.0. We saw this meta be very strong with the early Ordinals meta as new tech like recursive inscriptions were rolled out. But anyway, the degens didn't really know what programmable runes were, and so it spawned several Twitter spaces, a lot of speculation. Frankly, nobody knew what programmable runes are until today. So it's been a bit of a carrot dangled on a string in front of the Ordinals and Runes people narrative. I speculated, because I didn't have any idea, that it could be in relation to something to do with a concept on Bitcoin called covenants, which is kind of one of the things that some of these soft forks like OpCat or OpCTV would unlock, which allows you to constrain future spending conditions of Bitcoin. Basically allows you to do interesting things with how you do Bitcoin transactions. And maybe because runes are on top of that, programmable runes might have something to do with covenants. I don't have a lot of clarification, but I'm just going to cut to the chase here. So today, the enigmatic, unspecified Programmable Runes team was named. Isabel dropped the name of Judo Flexchop. Judo Flexchop is one of the lead technical people for the Oil Dynamics team. I interviewed them on Bitcoin Season 2 a month and a half ago. So if you're interested about that, I did an interview with some of the Oil Dynamics team on their products a month and a half ago. I think it's really interesting talking about the state of indexing and providing prepackaged APIs and indexers you could pull from. So it'd be natural for someone on the tech side of that team to iterate on some of the ideas. So here we have Isabel tweeting just 30 minutes ago. So it's evolving, it's a fluid situation. Tweeting that Programmable Runes team has been made aware of a number of scams falsely claiming to be the team in question. For the sake of consumer protection, the team has decided to dox its creator, Judo Flexchop. Going forward, all announcements to the sub-protocol will come exclusively from their account. By the way, this protocol has been named the Proto Runes by its creator. So I think the new hot word that everyone's going to lose their minds about is Proto Runes. So more on this as it develops. I personally don't think this is worth obsessing over right now. And if you are listening to this, I would say take a big chill pill, go back under your rock, turn off the internet for a whole hour, and just take a deep breath and realize that we are starved for narrative. So, moving on, what is next? Oh, sorry, we're still on news happening this week. The other news this week, and this could be at the center of why everything is going down. I don't think it's the driver, but it's certainly related to, is that MtGox is announcing that they're finally going to repay customers or OG MtGox customers under the rehabilitation plan. So they'll be distributing something like 6 billion, 7 billion, I don't know, a lot of Bitcoin, several billion in Bitcoin, of Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash from the original MtGox hack, which was over a decade ago. So this is anticipated to put some sell pressure on Bitcoin. I personally, and I think a lot of people have been in this space a long time, don't think this is going to be a huge driver of sell pressure long term, but this is important to keep in mind. I think this is probably one of the most notable, again, one of the more notable things in this week in news. It seems to me, just kind of reflecting on this past week, that a lot of the price action, a lot of the narrative in the Bitcoin space has been largely speculative. People doing a lot of decisions for their Bitcoin strategy based upon not very well understood information. And I would just say this is kind of baked into how a lot of the speculative fervor of these ecosystems work, but also just relax, everybody. Bitcoin's going to be fine. We just have to survive until Bitcoin Nashville, and just survive till the end of the year. Speaking of Bitcoin Nashville, for what's next, I am looking forward to the Inscribing Nashville conference. We have kind of a who's who of the space: Aiko, Fomojis, Nulcha, Pizza Ninjas. It's the who's who is speaking: Casey, Trevor, Udi, Aaron, Raph, Jan, Parker, Day. The first time they will be speaking publicly, as far as I'm aware, to an Ordinals audience. Parker Day is the artist of Casey's first known collection that he's been inscribing, and I anticipate will release. So that's for what's next. I will wrap up this episode by making one perhaps spicy observation about the landscape of Ordinals collections. So I've been in a lot of these spaces this past week and listening to a lot of the discourse, and there's a lot of people talking about, well, which collections should you own? Node monks are down to 0.16 BTC. Puppets are down to 0.10 BTC. OMB down to 0.19 BTC. I love all these collections. I own most everything. But I want to point out that there's a couple collections which I feel like don't get as much discourse in the like Degen community because maybe they aren't as viral to the Degens, and those are Quantum Cats and Pizza Ninjas. And if we look at Pizza Ninjas, they, of all the collections, Bitcoin or Ordinals collections floor prices have been hemorrhaging the past 2 or 3 months. But Pizza Ninjas have been relatively stable in Bitcoin denominated terms. They're only down like 40%. I know that's a lot, but from all time high, but like they're only down 40% and really only down from launch. And they're actually technically up from launch still. So I think this is pretty interesting because perhaps maybe Pizza Ninjas by some folks are perceived as like not as cool for some reason. I won't make a normative statement on that right here, but I think this is interesting that I feel that some of the more stable floors of the collections have come from collections which are in certain corners of the community perceived not as cool. So Quantum Cats here also incredibly stable, only down 40% again from their all-time high, maintained a pretty strong floor price above 0.2. One of the only like top collections which achieved at over half a Bitcoin floor price and has stayed above 0.22. So I think this is interesting. Maybe I'm rambling a bit here, but I will wrap this up by saying, check your preconceptions. I've had to check my preconceptions a lot this past year. Make sure to stay tuned for Bitcoin Season 2. This Thursday, I'm dropping a fascinating conversation with Leo Zhang of Alchemia, a fee rate, a very cool tool and product to let you hedge and speculate and on the fee rate of Bitcoin. We had some very high-level discussions on just Blockspace and fees in general, which I think you would really enjoy. So that comes out this Thursday. Otherwise, thank you so much for joining Bitcoin Season 2. I will see you next week.